The Detroit Red Wings have lost 12 straight games, including 10 games in regulation. They only have 7 wins on the season through 32 games this season. The Detroit Red Wings, to say the least, are having a very tough start to the season. Steve Yzerman has his work cut out ahead of him. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe. Let's take a look at the continuing rebuild of Steve Yzerman's Detroit Red Wings. So the Detroit Red Wings are continuing the rebuilding process. It was kind of being led into by former general manager Ken Holland, shipped up to Edmonton. And now the new general manager, Steve Yzerman, a former player of Ken Holland, hoping to turn this team around. A lot of excitement was built around the Detroit Red Wings. The fact that they were going to have Steve Yzerman come in. He made a weird pick at the draft in June, picking up Moritz Seider very early in the draft. There were rumors that some other teams were looking to pick him up, but he could have easily been a mid pick in the first round. He ended up going 6 or 7 to the Detroit Red Wings. A little bit of a shock to not only the Red Wings fans and everybody else in the building, but to Moritz Seider himself. But since then, the team started the season off really strong. Really great start to the season. Anthony Mantha being one of the 30 stars in the first week of the season. I remember talking about that and how exciting the Red Wings looked. But since then, not too great of a look for the Detroit Red Wings. 7-22-3 on the season. They have 7 wins in 32 games so far this year. 17 points on the season for the Detroit Red Wings. And if those stats don't scare you, these for sure will. Goals for this season, 67 goals for this season. That's dead last in the NHL. Goals against, 129 goals against this season so far. That is also dead last in the NHL. Tyler Bertuzzi is the leading goal scorer of this team, 25 points in 32 games. Anthony Mantha, who's 23 points on the season, he's missed a couple of games due to injury, so those are a little bit deflated in terms of his stats this season. Dylan Larkin, definitely taking a lot of criticism, and probably rightfully so, with only 20 points on the season in 32 games this season. Andreas Athanasiou with 15 points in 29 games played. And Philip Hronek ending out the top 5 with 14 points in 30 games. Jonathan Bernier has 5 wins on the season. He's played 19 games, so he's almost winning pretty much at a rate of 1 win per 4 games. He's gotten pulled in 3 of those games. He has a save percentage of a .888 and a goals against average of a 3.41. Jimmy Howard's stats, not looking too much better. He has 2 wins on the season, 14 games played with the Detroit Red Wings, a save percentage of a .887 and a goals against average just a shade under 4 at 3.94. We have seen some call-up goaltenders as well due to some injuries with Jimmy Howard over the past couple of weeks. Calvin Pickard and Eric Comrie have each played combined 3 games. Eric Comrie getting pulled in one of his 2 games. Situation is not looking great for the Detroit Red Wings, and success seems like to be a distant memory now for the Detroit Red Wings. The last time the Detroit Red Wings made the playoffs was back in the spring of 2016. You do the math, it's going to be 4 years this spring since the Detroit Red Wings have made the playoffs, and before that they have won 25 or gone to the playoffs 25 or 26 seasons in a row. And now things not looking so good for the Red Wings. They are likely to go 4 straight seasons without making the postseason. Another fact, they have been under 5 years now under the control of Jeff Blashill, who has been the head coach of the Red Wings, been praised by many at different points. Something to remember also, he was hired under the old general manager Ken Holland. We're going to see some heads roll in Detroit by the end of the season. Steve Yzerman may want a new option in the head coaching role heading into next season. Is this going to be the last season of Jeff Blashill? And with some of the names out there in the hockey world in a head coaching position, we just saw the San Jose Sharks fire their head coach. We saw a couple of other guys, Mike Babcock possibly coming back. John Hines, who was out of the New Jersey Devils. Jim Montgomery of the Dallas Stars. So there are plenty of possible names out there. The question is, what are the Detroit Red Wings' plan? And that is up to Steve Yzerman. What is his plan for this team? Now, the good news is the Detroit Red Wings don't have all their top high-end prospects in the NHL right now, and it's probably to the betterment not only of the team and the fans, but for the players themselves. Let them develop in North America. Some of these guys are just playing for the first time on North American ice. There's different, levels of hockey, the pace, the systems that the league is very different from Europe in terms of schemes and different things that we do here. The ice surface is definitely different. There's a bigger rink overseas, so some of the defensemen, specifically Moritz Seider, may have had to adjust a little bit to the size of the rink, and that may be a little bit of something to keep in mind for players like him. Speaking of Moritz Seider and some of these other prospects, down in the Grand Rapids Griffins, the affiliate farm team in the American Hockey League for the Detroit Red Wings, there is some good news. Moritz Seider has 12 points in 25 games played. Not too bad for a defenseman, almost a point per game, or every other game, basically, he's been getting a point. So that is very good for Moritz Seider. Joe Veleno with 9 points in 26 games played. Now, the one stat that's not looking too good for Joe Veleno is he is a minus 19 on the season. So not too good there. That he's definitely on the ice for a lot of goals against, and for a very highly sought after early second round draft pick by the Detroit Red Wings in Joe Veleno. Not a great start right now in Grand Rapids. Michael Rasmussen has been up and down between the NHL and the AHL, especially with all the injuries the Red Wings have had to deal with. He has 9 points in 10 games in the Grand Rapids organization. Filip Zadina has also been kind of thrown around up and down with Michael Rasmussen. 13 points in his 20 games in the American Hockey League this season. The Detroit Red Wings have definitely been going through a change of culture and identity as a team. It really started back when Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg, Mike Babcock, they either retired or went back to the KHL or went to the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a very different identity and a different look for the Detroit Red Wings. For a little while, it just seemed like under Jeff Blashill at different points, this team is just trying to be something that they aren't anymore. And this is definitely a good culture change. I think Moritz Seider will help them in the direction they want to go this season into next season, so the fans have some hope. And even better news, well, maybe not for right now, but hopefully in June, the Detroit Red Wings could be more than likely drafting in the top 5 in the 2021 or the 2020 NHL draft. There are plenty of very good prospects in that draft, and I'm sure Steve Yzerman will be hopefully looking to grab one of his players to be a rental somewhere. Maybe they could pick up some more draft picks before the season is said and done, hopefully before the NHL trade deadline, which is toward the end of February. So the Detroit Red Wings, things don't look so great right now. We're not even at Christmas, and it pretty much seems like this is a dead season for the Red Wings. Season with a lot of excitement coming in, all these young prospects, Moritz Seider, Filip Zadina, Joe Veleno. The process continues. The goaltending is not what what Red Wings fans maybe were hoping for. Probably somewhere along the lines what we were expecting. I know I said back in the season previews that this team really, is a very young team. They continue to shed off some not so great contracts. That's a big part of it as well. And, kind of getting over that culture. And I feel like once Jimmy Howard is out from the Detroit Red Wings, this team is pretty much just a shell of what it was back in the day, back in those really glory days in the late 90s, early 2000s. But that's okay. They don't need to be the team that they were back then. They're building a new identity. The only issues that I really see with this team right now are who's the new goaltender going to be, because we don't really have an idea. Maybe there's a goaltender overseas that I don't really hear talked about, but that's a little bit of an issue considering Jimmy Howard and Jonathan Bernier really are not going to be options moving forward for the Detroit Red Wings. So maybe do they trade for a goaltender? This Stevie Y maybe find a goaltender, kind of like he did with Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay, just a late first-round pick. If he's going to have multiple picks, maybe he gets a first-round pick. There is a possibility of a top 5 draft pick in a goaltender. I don't remember his name at the top of my head, but there is rumors that he could be in there with the Red Wings if they're a mid-first-round pick in the top 5 to 10. Would they go for a goaltender that early? Dylan Larkin is definitely a little bit concerning. He was supposed to be, the face of this team, a Michigan Wolverine through and through. He was a Michigan born and raised, and since then, there was a lot of hype around him, and rightfully so, but since his rookie year, he's definitely fallen off a little bit. So let me know, what do you think in the comment section down below? What do you think of the Detroit Red Wings? Are you hopeful for the future of this team? And let me know, is there any goaltending prospects in the system for the Red Wings? I'm not too sure. But that's definitely something I would think Steve Yzerman would want to address as soon as this offseason, possibly trying to get a goaltender and start to work him into the NHL, or possibly in the farm just to get him ready for hopefully a Red Wings team coming back to their glory days. Seemingly not so long ago, but also seeming like forever. It's been almost 5 years. So let me know what you think down below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe if you haven't already. We have almost 100 subscribers on this channel. That's awesome. So hopefully that continues to grow. Almost a year of this channel. So we'll see what happens with that. But thank you for watching and have a great day.